Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. This video is a recap from the Sunday game. We're playing Tabletop Star Wars right now. We are on recap episode 5. So where we last left off, my Padawan got a mission to go to a cave and retrieve or open up some data file. So we start with that. So we all head to that Jedi temple, which was close to where we were. And when he opens it up, we get a star map. And it has 2 hyperspace trails, bits of them. And they definitely look like 2 different ones because they go into 2 opposite directions of the galaxy. So we also look through, and there's 5 planet locations highlighted, 1 being the planet we're on. So with that, we decide which planet we're going to go to next. But before that, we saw a map of the area we're in, and there was a cave to the far south I wanted to explore. So we decided to head that way. Our Mandalorian hops on his swoop bike and heads there way ahead of us. But we head by foot, traveling all the way to the cave. Our group, traveling as a group, encounters a wreckage of a bunch of speeder bikes and a bunch of Mandalorian wrecked armor. I collect the helmets to give to the Mandalorian because I'm not familiar with all the Mandalorian clans, so I was like, I'll just let him know that these guys had died. And then we head towards him, where the cave is. But while we were heading towards the cave, our Wookiee pilot decided to stay behind and collect all the bits of the bikes and try to assemble a speeder. So he ends up doing that, but he is pretty much out of the cave adventure. At the cave, before we get there, the Mandalorian sends in his scout droid. His scout droid doesn't hear anything, doesn't see anything. He's even using the heat sensors on it. It's not picking up anything. And as it gets further into the cave, all of a sudden it starts to go static and stop working. Well, when we get there, I hand him the helmets and I lead us into the cave. We're using technology to see and whatnot. So as we go deeper and deeper, we eventually start to hear something falling. And what's hilarious is it was always targeting the Mandalorian, but it was always missing too, so that's also funny. We eventually see what's falling, and worms are falling out of the ceiling onto the ground. We make it to where the scout droid was, and none of our technology begins to work anymore. I can't even turn on my lightsaber. That said, our artifact lightsaber that we acquired, the Sith one, turns on just fine. So we use that for our light source for those that can't see in the dark, which is mostly me, and I'm pretty sure a few others. I use the Force, my move object ability, to pick up the scout droid and use it more or less like an umbrella above me to prevent any of the worms from falling on me. As we get down into the big cavern at the center of this cave system, we find that it is essentially a big bug hive. And the bugs are snake-like spider bugs, is what they're described. The best description from a D&D player's perspective is they look like Nyogi. So there was like 40 some of them. I think 45 maybe. I could be wrong on the exact number. I decide to test out my abilities on that number after hearing the rest of the description of the room, which there was some crystal formations with eggs around them, and there's a metallic device glowing with 3 red dots in the center of the room. So I use my move object to pick up as many of the bug creatures as I can, and I pull them all together and I raise them towards the ceiling. But in doing this, I used up like all of my hit points, since hit points were the power of the force. So I think I left myself like 3 or 4 hit points. So I left like 3 or 4 bugs untouched. All the bugs begin screeching, and every one of us fails our save. So we're all deafened. And I fail my save to maintain the power, so I drop them. Some of them take damage on their way down. The Mandalorian takes action after that and throws in a grenade after he figures out which one works in this pretty much non-technological location. And he blows pretty much all of them to dust. Whatever's left, we have no problem taking care of. After that, we raid the crystals. We gather them. They are modification crystals, I believe, for lightsabers. I then figure out how to disable that device that's in the center of the room. And when I disable it, and by disabling it, I just mean turn it off and put it back together. When I do that, the technology in the area begins working again. So we decided to take that device with us because that could be very useful in a very interesting location. The downside is you don't want to activate that on your spaceship while you're in space. I also practice a new force skill on myself, and that's the force skill of Heal Self. I don't have any ranks in it yet, but I told him I was going to try to learn that one next. And I'm successful, and I recover a few hit points. I was using it wrong that game. It turns out I can only use that once per hour on myself to recover hit points. That said, we didn't have any combats between the two, so the time frame should be irrelevant. But it's good to know that for the future. After this, we travel to the world of the Wookiees. The Mando wanted to get some mechanical items here, which, because of our actions, he failed to do so. Sorry, David. But we end up acquiring a Asgard from Stargate, which was my new character, who's going to be the tech expert for the ship. So all of us were told we could have 2 characters, but only one of our 2 characters could be Force users. So I created this guy, since I already had my Jedi Corvin, created this guy to be our tech guy of the ship. He's going to become a master engineer or master mechanical expert or something like that, whatever the name of the prestige class is. He's going to do that in the next level or 2. So, but with his roles and his abilities, we get the shield generator that we've been fiddling with up and running. Also, with his addition to the group, we can free the slave and still have a technical guy for the ship. We decide to head to the world of the Wookiees and start looking for the items that the Mando was looking for, as well as the star map that we needed to acquire. And I think I picked that destination. The player that was playing the Mando wanted to go to the water world to start harvesting the back to chemical, which we could probably still go back to. I'm not 100% sure where exactly we left off at last game when it came to what we did at the very end. So when I reach that, I'll mention it again. So my Asgard is in the battle armor from Stargate Atlantis, and he's over there working on a cage. We're talking with the front desk representative of the company, and he says that this guy's fired. So his response to that front desk guy was to shock that guy on the ass. After doing that, the Wookiees begin to riot. So my Jedi Corvus uses the move object force ability to pull all the spikes that were in the necklaces of the Wookiees for restraints. He pulls them completely out so they can't be used, gaining my first light side point unintentionally. I only did it so that the Wookiees could keep really rioting. But doing good is doing good. But because of this rioting, the Mandalorian wasn't able to do his dealings to get the technology items he was after. So we're going to have to make it up to him and find a place where he can acquire some. But I don't remember exactly how, but we got a copy of the star map here. I don't remember if we used their database or if we did something else. But with that copy of the star map, we heard from the Jedi Council that another group got a copy of a star map, and we shared the copies to each other. So I now have 3 copies of the 5, and we were able to make the check to decipher enough of the path to figure out where the path was going, how the path was going to go, that we could make the attempt the route without acquiring the other copies. That's the last thing I remember. I don't know if we actively started that route. I did know that we did leave the Wookiee planet. Other than that, that's all I know. So, that's as good as my memory was on what all had happened. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments below. If this is helpful for the players, let me know. Well, until we all game again.